Welcome, everyone, to League of Leaders in our segment of Hot Topic Tuesday. I am Zach Sooty. We have Al Fragnoli and a new special guest, Kent Fiott. Kent, thanks for joining us this week. And Al, good to see you again.
Excited to be with you guys. Thank you for bringing me on, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the NFL season has officially kicked off. Some great games this past weekend. But one I really want to highlight today is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cleveland Browns. Both teams extremely talented. Al, I'm going to start with you. Do you believe Kansas City is the team to beat this year? And then I want to follow up. How far do you think Cleveland can go this year? They made the playoffs last year. And what are your takeaways from that game? Because it was extremely close. It was a great game. What are your overall thoughts?
Yeah, Zach, this is a good topic, I think, to start off with after the first week in the NFL season. So I watched a majority of this game yesterday, and, I thought it was a fantastic game. Cleveland jumped out to an early lead. They really looked to take control of that game. But Zach, to answer your first part of the question, is Kansas City still the team to beat? They've been dominant for really the last 3 or 4 years. So until somebody proves they can knock them off come postseason, yes, I'm going to say Kansas City is still the team to beat. I know the last week when we talked, I had mentioned that the Buffalo Bills was my AFC team to make it to the Super Bowl. I'm going to stick with that. Although, I think the easy pick, like I said, is Kansas City. They're still an elite team. They kind of showed you really in that second half how fast they can really change the tempo in the game and flip the switch and turn things around. They can score quickly. They can get back into games when they're down by two or three scores. In regards to the Cleveland Browns, I think they're going to get better. They had a good season last year. They're a very well coached football team. One play that stuck out to me was right before halftime. How many times do we see football teams from the high school level to the college to all the way to the elite, the NFL teams? They don't use their timeouts right before halftime when they're around midfield or the 40-yard line and they have the opportunity to score. I think Cleveland did a great job by letting the game clock run down about 3 or 4 seconds. They burned a timeout. It was fourth down. Why punt it? Right? I mean, why punt it? You're right there around the 45-yard line. They do a quick little pass where everybody's sitting back and they get down to about the 10-yard line. They came really, really close to scoring on that play. And that's a really good coaching move that was made in that position. So I think Cleveland's an incredibly well-coached football team. They have a lot of talent. I think they're going back to the postseason this year. And if they can find ways to close out games and win against the Kansas Cities of the world, I think they have a potential to go far. But again, I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are probably the team to beat until somebody can prove otherwise. Kent, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things you said, I would echo that. I mean, great clock management. I actually have written down the same thing that you went over. Fantastic. That's a big part of NFL, being a coach and knowing how to manage the clock. Kansas City's proven themselves time in and time again. Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best right now from a physical talent perspective. I think losing Sammy Watkins, even though he's been injured the last few years, is a big deal. You got guys like Hardman that can step in, but Watkins is a proven guy. Not only has he got speed, but he's a guy that makes plays. He makes catches. He doesn't drop a lot of balls. Him not being there is a little bit of a difference. And when it comes to Cleveland, I was a guy with Baker Mayfield when he got drafted. Baker Mayfield he's a gamer. He's a guy that gets his team pumped up. He had a good rookie year, and then he had that kind of sophomore slump. And I didn't know what to make of him. But after last year, watching him play, I don't know that he's got that, he doesn't have the arm strength. He's not the best, most physically attributed guy in the NFL, but he's a guy that the teammates want to follow. He's a guy that's in the huddle and they want to win for. So I think Cleveland's there to stay, but to answer the question in general, I mean, Kansas City, in my opinion, still the team to beat. They got some stuff to shore up on the offensive line. We saw that in the Super Bowl last year, and I didn't see them do very well in protection, in the first game either, especially in the first half. But I think from a perspective, you got Andy Reid, one of the best play callers in the league. You got drawing a blank. I think it's Bellamy, right? what's off court, Bellamy.
Yep.
He's a guy that could get an off. He was expected to maybe get a head coaching job in the offseason, didn't get one, but I mean, they're one of the most exciting offenses to watch. So Kansas City's still the top team in the NFC, but Cleveland's not far behind, and they're really surprising, to be honest with you. I think they're a top contender.
Yeah, Ken, I think I agree with you that Cleveland is not the Cleveland team that we once knew. With Baker Mayfield coming in, he is a gamer. He's a winner. He wants to win. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Cleveland Browns evolve with him over the next few years. So it'll be exciting to watch. I know the AFC North has not had a Cleveland team to really compete with the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think this year is going to be another year where they make a run at the playoffs, and if they play like they did against the Kansas City Chiefs and maybe edge out some wins against these elite teams, they could be right there with taking the division even. And it pains me to say that as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So, to the point that the Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat. They're just so talented, and I was I think we were all surprised when Bellamy did not get a head coaching job, but better for the Chiefs. So I think they're only going to be stronger for it.
One of the biggest things I forgot to add, I want to throw it in there too, is the Cleveland running game. I mean, when you look at a guy like Chubb, I think Chubb's one of the best runners in the NFL. Honestly, pound for pound, they do a good job splitting it up because I think Hunt is a good mix with him. So that allows Baker Mayfield to flourish more. So when you got a running game like that, and even I'm sure we'll get into Stafford, but he never had that. You got two guys that can run the football like that. That makes Baker Mayfield much better as well.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned Matthew Stafford. That's going to lead us into our next topic. The Los Angeles Rams essentially dominated from start to finish. And Matthew Stafford, he looked great in his debut with the Rams. Al, starting off again with you, how good of a season does Stafford have this year? And how far can the Rams go?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Zach. And Zach, you just mentioned, that the Cleveland Browns are not the Cleveland Browns of the past that we're used to. The Detroit Lions are the team of the past that we're used to. So I just want to throw that out there for all the Lions fans out here that are watching. But, as we talk about Matthew Stafford, I get it. Most Lions fans want to see the Rams struggle this year so that our draft pick is higher. So I understand that reasoning. But however, Matthew Stafford looked fantastic last night. I fully expect him to have a fantastic year. He's on a really, really strong team with the Rams. They're very well coached. I think they have the potential to make it to the Super Bowl, to be honest with you. Obviously, Zach, we talk about Tom Brady a lot, or I mentioned Tom Brady's name a lot. So I want the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to end up in the Super Bowl again. But I think that if Stafford stays healthy and the Los Angeles Rams, for the most part, stay healthy throughout the year, I think they have a chance to compete in the NFC. I really do. I firmly believe that. In my opinion, Stafford was not the problem here in Detroit. I think he's a good quarterback. He has struggled to win those key games, those few playoff games that he played in here in Detroit. But I think that he's going to prove by being in Los Angeles around a strong organization that has had success. They're, just a few years removed from being in the Super Bowl. I fully expect Stafford to have a strong year, and I expect the Rams to have a really good season. Kent, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big Stafford guy, since he came along, and not like I don't have a Matt Stafford jersey or anything like that. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league, but I think that it's evident that the problem in Detroit was not Matt Stafford. The problem in Detroit has been the general management, the coaching hires, everything other than the quarterback position. I mean, and that's proven not only by last night. And here's the thing, it's going to be a little skewed, right? Because I've always said, if you give Matt Stafford a decent running game, if you give Matt Stafford a decent defense, he's going to be able to win games. Football is the ultimate team sport, right? It's not basketball. It's not like LeBron James. You can take the ball, you can take it over in the fourth quarter, go score 40 points. In football, you need your line to block, you need your receivers to catch, you need your running backs to make plays. You can't do it all on your own. There's very few quarterbacks, and you name one of them, Tom Brady, maybe a couple others that can go out there and will the team to victory. the majority of other quarterbacks in the league are going to need skill around them. They're going to need the line. They're going to need a running game. They're going to need people to do things. So I always thought if you gave Matt Stafford at least a little running game or a little defense, he would be a top player. But now you're taking him to a team that's got probably the best defense in the league and maybe one of the best play callers in the league. So he's going to shine. I mean, he's going to make people in Detroit that said he was no good feel stupid. And I might look stupid saying this now, but I'm telling you, I truly believe this. He's going to dominate. I mean, they're going to be a great team. They're going to be a force to reckon with. He's going to put up insane numbers. He really is. And that's not me just being a fanboy of Matt Stafford. It's just me telling how it is. I mean, he's got a great arm. And I never really quite understood the hatred in Detroit. And I think that I shouldn't say that because I think at least a lot of people in Detroit loved him, right? But the people they didn't like him, they didn't like him vehemently for whatever reason. And I think that was ridiculous because he's always gave back to the city. He's always been a good guy. He's never been a guy to, oh, I'm hurt, I'm going to sit out. He's played every game he could. And it's unwarranted hatred. And I'm personally hoping that he thrives. Obviously, I want to see Lions get a good pick, but I don't think there's a better place he could have went to than LA. And I think he's going to do big things there.
Yeah, and I'm not a fanboy of Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions, and not being from the area. From an outside perspective, Matthew Stafford was a quarterback that was on a bad team. Outside looking in, he was a great quarterback who was on a bad team. Going to the Rams with a Sean McVay squad, coaching staff, I would not be. Now, I would say he could have MVP type numbers. He could be the NFL MVP this year. I think he's that good, and I think he's surrounded by the talent, and that defense is remarkable. And it'll be a fun season to watch. And, I'm going to, talk about Barry Sanders a little bit. I mean, another great player on bad teams in Detroit. He just has decided to retire. Now we're seeing Matt Stafford go to another team that's going to give him an opportunity to win. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does. And I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls out an MVP this year with the numbers that the Rams can put up on offense.
I agree with you, Zach. And the thing about that is when it comes to see, one thing that I think I would say about Matt that some of the things, the criticism of him that people say somewhat are warranted. He's never been a guy that's outspoken like an Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't want to come out and say, hey, listen, don't hire this guy. I want this guy to stay, or I want this guy to stay. So that is a little bit of a knock you can throw on him, right? But he needs to be put in a place where he's at now, where he's got a coach that knows how to call plays. I mean, that's a big thing in the NFL, man. I mean, it really is. And the Lions have never been able to put that together, right? They hire a good head coach, but they don't have a good offensive coordinator, and they got a good defensive coordinator. Or they hire a good head coach, and they got a good defense coordinator, but not an offensive coordinator. They never have put it together. And he never was an outspoken guy to say, hey, listen, I want this guy to call plays. He's had 4 or 5 different offensive coordinators since he started, and it was 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just that's where it's at. And I think he's in a spot where I think McVay is one of the top play callers in the league. They run those bootlegs, those play actions that are going to get him out, let his arm flourish. And I think you're right, man. I think he's got MVP potential, and with that defense, I mean, anything can happen in the playoffs, but that team's definitely a favorite, if not, top 3 team that can win the Super Bowl.
I like that. So, gentlemen, moving on to our last topic for Hot Topic Tuesday. Michigan knocks off Washington in a primetime showdown, and we're talking college football here. Ohio State loses at home to Oregon. Al, talking about Michigan, how good can they be this year, and can they compete with Ohio State, and challenge some of the top teams in the conference for a Big Ten title?
Yeah, so I always enjoy talking Michigan football, as you know, Zach. I love the Wolverines. Exciting win. It was nice to see them knock off Washington. I don't know really how much that win is going to mean, especially after Washington's opening week loss to Montana. So that doesn't add a whole ton of credibility there. Ohio State losing to Oregon. We'll see how good Oregon can be this year. I mean, they were a top 15 team coming into this game, so that was a good matchup right there. I still think Ohio State is the cream of the crop in the Big Ten. They've been that way for the last at least 10 years plus here. how good is Michigan going to be this year? I don't know. I don't think we're really going to find out until they play Wisconsin in week 5, I believe it is. But I still look at them as of right now as an 8-4 type team. That's kind of what I had them at coming into the season, like 7-5, 8-4. I thought Washington was going to be a loss, preseason prior to them losing to Montana. So I'll move them from that 7-5 category to an 8-4. Maybe 9-3 now at best, but I don't see them competing with Ohio State. They've lost 16 out of the last 17 years. I believe it's been absolutely disgraceful. So I don't think we can put a ton on this Washington win. They ran the ball really, really well, but I still don't, they didn't need to pass, so they didn't really need to throw the ball around that much, but I still don't know how well their passing game is going to be. So that's a big question mark for me. And when you start playing these better teams, the Wisconsin, the Penn States, the Ohio States of the world in the Big Ten, you've got to be able to have a well-balanced offensive attack. And if you can't throw the ball, you're not going to beat those teams. So ultimately, I still don't see them beating Ohio State. And then between Michigan State, Wisconsin, Penn State, maybe they get two wins out of there, but I still think they're at the very best a 9-3 team. Kent, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you said there. I think, Harbaugh, the biggest thing with Harbaugh is he's a great head coach, and I think head coaches in college, the biggest thing they got to do is be CEOs, right? They got to bring in the right coordinators. I think that Don Brown started off as a good defensive coordinator. I think that the way that he runs his formations, the way that he runs his defense, he needs to have the best type skill players around to do that press coverage, to do that man-to-man, right? So that ran its course. We saw that the last few years, and I think that the guy that he brought in from the Ravens, I like what he's doing on defense. I like the way he's mixing coverages up. I like the way he's doing some zone, he's doing some man, and I think that's going to help the defense. I think from an offense perspective, I'm not a big fan. I'm not sold on Josh Gaddis. Not that I hate him. I think he's got some good things that he does. I don't like the way, and he's actually, to his credit, he's been better this year. He's got 2 backs that he's picked in Haskins and Corum. I really like Corum's big playability. I like Haskins complimentary as a complimentary back. In the past, he's been a guy, I'm going to give Charbonnet 3 carries. I'm going to give Corum 4 carries. I'm going to give this guy 6. He spreads it out too much. You got to get people some consistency. You got to get them some rhythm. Even on the receiver core, when you look at Michigan's box scores, every time you look in the top receiver caught 3 passes. This guy caught 2 passes. This guy caught 3 passes, 2 passes. I want to see who's your number 1 receiver? Throw the ball to them 8, let them get 8 catches for 120 yards. You haven't had that in years. So we need to find, playmakers. We need to find people on offense that can do the job. It's great that we can run for, 360 yards against Washington, but I think Washington is not very good this year. They're just not. And it's good to see them win the game, and you win the game how you have to. So run the ball, that's great. But to your point, Al, when you come against Wisconsin, when you come against the other teams, you got to be able to throw the football, right? And I think Caden McNamara can do that. I seen him do that against Rutgers last year. I seen him do that. I think I think we've got 2 of the best quarterbacks in a while. And the freshman isn't playing, but I think Cade McNamara can do good things as well. But when you're running the ball like that and you're blowing some team out, throw it a little bit, get some work in, because we got young receivers. We got to get them game time experience. So, you really, in my opinion, you really can't glean anything from these first 2 wins. It's good we got them, but like you said, we're going to see what we're made of come Wisconsin, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Well, that wraps it up for Hot Topic Tuesday. So always a pleasure to have a new voice and a new face. So we thank you, Kent, for joining us this evening. We look forward to having you on down the road to talk sports. So we thank everybody for joining us, tuning in, listening to some football talk again this week. We look forward to being right back with you next Tuesday for another edition of Hot Topic Tuesday on League of Leaders. Thanks, everybody.